Folks are doing the marketing correctly. They're doing it right, but marketers are still getting blamed for issues when revenue misses. You're listening to the Sticky CMO, the podcast for marketing leaders who want to become indispensable. Let's jump to the conversation. Hey folks, welcome to season 2 of the Sticky CMO. My name is Tom Basgil, and if you joined us in season 1, you know that was many years ago, all the way back in 2023. Been heads down with clients, rebranded my agency to Sticky Tactics. We got LGBTE certified, which is a certification for LGBT-owned business enterprises. And in a few months, I'm starting my executive MBA at Columbia and London Business School. So there's been quite a bit happening in the background. Not quite abandoning the Sticky CMO, but more rebuilding. And I'm excited for this new season. I think season 1, we had some fantastic conversations with CMOs and marketing leaders. We had folks in comms, we had authors. But season 2 is going to be a lot more actionable. Because what I've been seeing in the past couple of years, from Fortune 500s like Bayer to Series A through C startups like Unicorn Startup Writer. And what we're seeing is that folks are doing the marketing correctly. They're doing it right, but marketers are still getting blamed for issues when revenue misses. And part of that, I think, is we need to tactically execute better. But the other part is that we need to build forecasting and attribution models that work with today's kind of cookieless web. So what I've identified is this social distribution gap, how most B2B companies are only reaching people who follow them. We see this a lot in startups where we get these initial great clients because the founder and folks, they know some people. They build some incredible technology, and then we get stuck. They get some more funding perhaps, and we see competitors with much inferior products really beating some of these clients to the punch. And I think that, to me, that's the social distribution gap. That gap where we've got this incredible product, but folks haven't heard of us. The BDRs call and nobody answers. So how do we address that is definitely going to be part of season 2. We're going to talk about social listening and how we can identify blue oceans and also gaps in our competitors' messaging. We'll talk about founder-led social and employee advocacy and how those pieces are incredibly important now in an era where execution is easy. Execution is easy and incredibly scalable with AI. So our differentiator can't be that we execute better than the competition. We have to be executing the right things. We have to be way more strategic. We have to actually use the data that we collect. I've worked for some clients who were data warehouses, and the amount of data that businesses can collect is absolutely incredible. But the amount that they actually sort through and sift and turn into actionable insights, it's a drop in the lake. As we look at what's happening in 2026 and how marketing is changing, especially in the B2B space, what we're going to look at is we've got these problems. Attribution is broken. As I mentioned, cookies are dying. Buying committees are bigger. Dark social. We're also seeing some pieces from Gartner and Forrester that say that folks have really made their short list of what they're going to buy by the time they actually contact sales. So we need to be influencing people before that. What we're seeing is that our bottom of the funnel ads are really just scraping the bottom of the barrel to talk about the bottom of the funnel of the folks who are already going to buy. So we need to think more in a flywheel perspective. We need to think more about how branding is influencing revenue. I think that things are just more complicated. I think we got very used to a digital world where I could put in $1 and I could see that $5 would come out. And that was great. And that lasted for a decade, perhaps. But we're no longer there anymore. The world is more complicated. People are using LLMs to make decisions. Buying committees are massive. AI content is flooding the zone. So now you have to not only create the right content and the right moments and the right PR hits, but you have to make sure that those stand out in a sea of sameness where competitors with one person is able to do the job of a marketing team of 50. And we'll also talk about how just because one person can do the job of 50 with something like ChatGPT, we'll talk about how that's actually not helping. We'll also talk a lot about what I call checkbox marketing. Oh, we're doing a white paper. Oh, we're doing an event. Oh, we're doing all these things that just check a box because we should, rather than thinking about what's actually going to cut through the noise and doubling down on what works. I also think that we need to redefine what works, because it is no longer as easy as tracking somebody through your website funnel and saying, okay, they click on this page, they go to this page, and now they sign up and they buy. That area of marketing is over. Things are a little bit messier now, so we've got to be a little bit smarter. So in the Sticky CMO, Season 2, we're going to talk about what it means to become indispensable to your organization. Whether you're a freelancer, you're a consultant, you run an agency, whether you're in-house, how you can become an indispensable marketer to the organization. And that means that we're not just hitting numbers, but we're also learning how to explain those numbers to stakeholders. We need to explain why the numbers do what they do. We need to identify these gaps. And we need to show how this is impacting bottom line metrics like revenue. We can't just say, oh, we generated 1 billion impressions if we can't connect that to the greater narrative, the greater story of how marketing and sales are working together. And we'll also talk about what tactics are working now as AI changes the landscape. As a recap, Season 1, great conversations. I met some fantastic people. Season 2, we're going to focus on being more immediately actionable. We're going to talk about, what tactics have failed and why. And I think we'll be a little bit less prescriptive, because I think that what we're seeing is that marketers today have a bunch of tactics in their toolbox. But what differentiates the smart marketers who are winning from the other folks is learning what tools to use when, is using strategy, because strategy is our key differentiator in this age of AI. And so I just like to ask, as we're closing this out, and I hope that you join us through Season 2, I want us to think about, if marketing is under pressure today, what's the thing they should do tomorrow? And that's what I'm hoping that we will answer together in Season 2 of the Sticky CMO. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you subscribe. Please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, Tom Basgil, Basgil. And for more information about what my team and I are doing now in the B2B tech space, visit stickytactics.com. Thank you, and we'll see you on the first episode. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Sticky CMO. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app and follow me on LinkedIn for more sticky tactics.